Hey everybody, my name is Molly Berbere, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of what I have learned about Mahu, which is an ideology coming to us from Hawaii. So let's begin. First off, a little background information about Hawaii, also known as the Aloha State. It was first inhabited some 1500 years ago by Polynesian settlers um, through the use of sugarcane development and exportation. It really became an agricultural powerhouse. I think that is what attracted some colonization. Really, actually, there's quite a bit of cool history about Hawaii, and honestly, I could go on and on. I could have done this whole presentation on Hawaii, so check it out for anyone who's interested. But as far as relevance to the Mahu, I wanted to point out a couple interesting things about Hawaii's history, in that it's always been a little bit progressive. So, for example, Queen Lilio Kalani, that is probably not it, but that's what I'm going to say, came to power in 1891. She had a male predecessor and was a female monarch in the 17th century, which is big. In 1898, the Hawaiian Islands were annexed by the United States, so that is when they became a part of U.S. territory. They did not actually receive statehood until half a century and some change later. In 1941, that is when Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese, and obviously, Hawaii brought us one of our coolest presidents ever. In 2009, Barack Obama was inaugurated. He is also from Hawaii. So, just some interesting facts, but definitely, if you're getting the sense, always been a bit of a little bit more progressive place. And part of the reason about why would be that Hawaii is a very spiritual place, and the culture and the history is very much ingrained with that spirituality. The spirit of aloha itself is being in the presence of and sharing the essence of life. That is a Hawaiian concept, a culture concept that I find very beautiful. It really, goes back to what I was saying about the land being alive, and these almost personification of the elements and of the land and the sea and the different plants and animals. Hawaii felt that these things were all, and sorry, Hawaiians felt that these things were all interconnected and that we were one with the land and we should take care of it. Actually, another very important concept from Hawaii is Malama Aina, which just means that you are, one with the land, take care of the land, take pride in your land. And speaking of pride, another just cultural concept that is specific to Hawaii would be the approach to being humble. Bragging, name dropping, those are no-nos in Hawaii. That is very crass, and they are a humble people. Now, in many societies, there is more than two genders recognized. I have heard up to five in some societies. But in Native American tribes, individuals who were gender nonconforming were usually recognized as two-spirit. This means that they could have masculine energy and feminine energy. Sometimes they were looked at like healers or witch doctors. And this is important in explaining Hawaii because the book itself really didn't go into much detail on Mahu, but it said it was very similar to the Two Spirit. And so I think that has to do with the way that two-spirited people in Hawaii, or Mahu rather, were seen not as with a negative connotation, but a positive connotation. It was something not to be ashamed of, but be proud of. Actually, this video will go into a little bit more detail, and I think it does a really good job of explaining what the Mahu is to Hawaii. So let's take a listen.
Before the coming of foreigners to our islands, we Hawaiians lived in aloha, in harmony with the land and with one another. Every person had their role in society, whether male, female, For Mahu, those who embraced both the feminine and masculine traits that are embodied within each and every one of us. Mahu were valued and respected as caretakers, healers, and teachers of ancient traditions. We passed on sacred knowledge from one generation to the next through hula, chant, and other forms of wisdom. When American missionaries arrived in the 1800s, they were shocked and infuriated by these practices and did everything they could to abolish them. They condemned our hula and chant as immoral. They outlawed our language and they imposed their religious strictures across our lands. But we Hawaiians are a steadfast and resilient people. And so, despite 200 years of colonization and repression, we are still here. Kila kila o Mahu inuia kama kamalala valu aina okulu aloha pilanie. Okay, so there's a couple big things I want to point out from that video. First, I want to talk about, oh, sorry, I moved past that slide a little quick. Okay, first I wanted to talk about the way that Hawaii was so strong. The culture was so resilient and so strong that even after hundreds and hundreds of years, I guess really just hundreds, it was 200 of colonization, they didn't lose those ancient chants and stories and dances and songs, and they really kept their culture so alive. And that really speaks to how much pride they have and how it's so ingrained within their society. And not to say it's ever really been easy for LGBT people, but this was a place that is definitely has a history of being more accepting. The other thing, I guess progressive rather than accepting. The other thing from the video that I really appreciated was how the narrator described gender. He said something along the lines of people who had both the masculine and the feminine energy that is within all of us. So the idea that, culturally speaking in Hawaii, the view on gender has been that no one is really 100% gay or straight or woman or man, but that it's this fluid spectrum and we're all kind of just somewhere in the middle. And obviously, like the Mahu, some people very much in the middle. Now, I apologize. I'm sorry, the writing that I included here is not, I must have not saved that, but these stones are called Kapea Mahu. These are actually a tribute to four ancient Mahu who were very important. Much like the Native Americans with their two-spirited witch doctors or just wise men, Mahu were viewed as being gifted in Hawaiian culture. So this is historical representation of the fact that that is something they've carried throughout their society. These are the references I used. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you've taken something away from today and our discussion on Mahu, and I look forward to getting to know you all more throughout the semester and hopefully collaborating with one or two of you here or there. Thanks so much. Have a good day.